Oh, well, hey there. Welcome back to 9 Acres. Hey, I'm Dale. If this is your first time visiting us, we're a small family farm in southeast Kansas. We do homesteading. We raise livestock. We help out with a larger family farm, do some traveling, we do some mechanicking, and we're so glad to see you. Not to mention, we might make some meals with all this stuff we raise here on this homestead. So if that's the kind of thing that interests you, hey, check out the rest of our channel. So I'm glad that you all joined me back here at 9 Acres today. We have had a problem with the bacon seeds. The bacon seeds haven't had a full-time waterer. We've been pan watering them, water them 2 or 3 times a day in water pans up to this point. We need to get those guys on full, fresh, clean water. If you want to make sure that your livestock for freezer camp gains to its utmost genetic potential, it has to have fresh, clean water available at all times. And we've got to take care of that solution. Hey, I'm sorry about the wind. We're in Kansas. The wind blows here. I don't know. I mean, magically, it might not blow where you're from, but here, the wind blows. And it happens to be today it does. But let me show you what we got to get done here. Basically, up to this point, what has happened is we use a IBC tote for our water, a remote waterer for our pens. When we had some very large hogs here that we were going to try to use for breeders, which didn't work out, and that's perfectly fine because guess what? Amazing freezer camp animals. Sorry, those pork chops were amazing, guys. So, hey, it still met a good end for us here. Back to our IBC tote. Those large hogs, they tore apart what we had set up for a waterer. Partly my fault. I didn't realize that it was that loose, that they could get it apart like they did and just destroy it. So I have to repair it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the IBC tote, that is the square tote that holds roughly 230 gallon of liquid in it. They come in all different types for food grade, for chemicals, all that kind of stuff. You do want a food grade IBC tote, because no one wants to put any kind of chemicals through animal at all. And, you know, I wouldn't feel right about that. But, so at the bottom of those IBC totes, they have a handle. And I'll show you all that when we go to the IBC tote to hook up. But that handle has a spigot on it. And that spigot has this very weird connection, almost like a quick connect, that this right here fits on. Some people refer to these, because of the brand name, banjo connector. But it slides on, you flip these 2 levers down, and then that camber locks into that lock, or that coupler, and it can't come off. It's got a rubber seal down in here that seals it off from leaking, and it's a very good connection. Now, you have to go get one of these in order to set up that waterer at your local farm supply store. You know, your TSCs, your Bumgars, your Orschelns, your Fleet and Farm, you know, somewhere like that. Somewhere that has sprayer or large farm sprayer parts. So you get you one of these banjo connectors with threads in it. Now, that's your first solution. You have to make sure that it is the right size here, so make sure you measure your IBC tote before you go there, so you can measure this inside diameter. Make sure you're getting the right one. Now, once we get it, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it and we're gonna adapt it down. So here's my first adapter. I'm going to go from the large banjo connector. Let me peel off this label. We're gonna go from that large banjo connector to an adapter. Now, if your supply store has a very large selection, you won't have to use as many of these reducers, because we're wanting to go from this, which is roughly 3-inch, down to 1/2-inch pipe thread. So that's what we're after. So if you can do that in one adapter or just one piece here, that's what you want to do. I didn't have that option, so I had to pick up one of these. Then I had to get one of these. Which takes it down to 1-inch pipe thread. So then I've got a 1-inch to 3/4-inch adapter. And yes, I'm going to tighten all this up. I'm just putting it together so that you guys can see it. So now we take that 1-inch to 3/4-inch. We're going to screw it into there. Now I've got my 3/4 to 1/2-inch adapter, and that's finally where we want to get at. So we'll take it, screw it into here. Okay? Now let me tighten all that down, and we'll talk again here in a minute. Now remember, y'all, we're building a pig water. We're not supplying New York City with supply of water. We're building a pig water. Have some grace. Use whatever tools are available to you and just get the job done. Okay, now that we got our 3rd grade science project done and we're adapted down to 1/2-inch pipe, let me show you the next thing we're going to do. Black water pipe, galvanized pipe. Some people call it galvanized pipe. It isn't galvanized. This is actually black iron. I know you're asking yourself, Dale, why didn't you use galvanized? It's pig water. By the time that this would deteriorate to the point that the galvanized would have saved me anything, it probably needs repaired or fixed by that point anyway. So I'm just going to use black. It's cheaper. Now we're going to need one of those. Put your pipe thread tape around this. We're going to screw it into that adapter. Far down into that girl as we can go. So now we got something that looks like this. Okay. Now, I know you were thinking, what are we going to do at that other end? Well, next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a 1/2 by 1/2 collar onto it. Or coupling. So we're going to screw that onto the end of it. So we're going to look something like this. We're not done yet. We got one more thing. Now, for all you people who are new to bacon seeds, porcine, swine, pigs. If you don't know what a nipple waterer is for a pig, you should find out about them. What they are, they're a 1/2-inch pipe thread nipple waterer. So they are actually spring loaded. The pig pushes down on this little nipple and it'll let water flow out of it so that they can get a drink. Now, let me get one of these out of here. Now, why did I want to get down to 1/2-inch? Because that girl's 1/2-inch pipe thread. Now, here's something I want to show you. Because we're going to use gravity flow on this. We're not putting pressurized water to it. In the back of this, there's a screen. We want to unscrew this back off of here. And this spring will come out, and this cap. And if you wanted to take it completely apart to see how it's made, there's your little nipple. And down in there is an O-ring. Okay? Well, we're going to set all this aside. We want to come back to this cap with the spring in it. Because inside of there are holes that allow the water to flow through. And there's 3 different solutions. And really, you don't have to take this off of the nipple. But if you, I did that so that it's easier for me to show you. But if you'll grab a hold of this little spring or screen, it'll come out. And when you look in there, see there's a screwdriver slot? That's so that you can adjust the amount of flow that goes to this nipple. Well, we want this thing to have full flow, being that we're using it as gravity fed. So we want to get inside of there, and we want to do away with that selection. So hold on. So we've got our little selector. We have a small screwdriver. If you get a hold of the side of that, you'll see that pops out. Now look, we have 3 holes. So we can let water flow through there way better. Now I know what you're asking yourself. Why do we even have that in there then? Well, because this is what holds the spring pressure against that nipple to keep it from just running water out on the ground. Back to your screen. You wanted to keep this screen because you want to put that screen back in place to keep the big stuff from plugging up your little holes. Now, the other thing that I have seen, or I actually have done before, is if you take a little drill, you can actually take a drill bit and drill just the center of that out to a bigger hole. And sometimes that's kind of helpful. Now, I know you're telling yourself, well, why is Dale going through to tell me all this? Well, if you're off grid, or if your pigs are a long ways from your water source, you're going to have a waterer that is gravity fed. I have some friends that I help them with their pig project on their homestead. And one of the easiest ways to make a pig water is get you a plastic 55-gallon drum, drill a hole in the side of it, and get a 1/2-inch pipe thread, tap it 1/2-inch pipe thread, put you some plastic or some pipe tape around this, screw it in the hole, bingo, you got a waterer. But we need way more. We got 7 head in here, so we need a bigger solution. Now, typically I would put thread tape around this also, but for video purposes, I'm just getting this girl done for you. So now that we got that in there, we got flat spots on that nipple. We're going to tighten it down all the way. So now, this is what we have. We've got a cap to go onto our IBC, going to a pipe with a nipple water. Now, let's go to the IBC and I'll show you what we're going to do with this. If you didn't know what an IBC tote is, that's what this is. It's these square water tanks, liquid tanks, all the above. Now, in order for you to be able to see this well, I'm going to flip this up on its back so that you can see what we're going to work on here. See where we're going to hook it up and everything. Okay, like I said, here's that connector on the IBC tote. We have a little handle that'll turn a ball valve and turn the water off and on to it. But we have that coupler that this female coupler will go on. So we're gonna slide this female coupler down on there. Okay. And now we've got our nipple waterer. We're going to go ahead and latch that down. And I want to turn this a little bit. I'm going to loosen it off. Give it a slight turn because we want that cutaway. Because we want this cut away to the top. So I turned it a little bit. Now I'll re-latch it back down. Let me move my shut-off handle here. Okay. Gonna fit really tight against it. Okay, now that we got that done, we're gonna we can either turn off or on our water. If you want to, turn it off till you fill up your tank and then turn the water on. Now, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with this for our pigos through how we're gonna set up this waterer for them. So we're ready here. I need to rinse out this tank first. Okay, now that we got that nipple waterer on there, we're gonna set this down. We set it up on blocks so we get it up in the air. We're gonna stick it through our fence just far enough for them to get a drink. Then we're gonna tighten it down to the fence so that they can't get any kind of movement out of it. So that's what I'm gonna do now. And this always works better if you got two people. Just saying. Now we either want this level or pitched a little bit down this way. Now that I got it there, I need to get in, tie my nipple down solid. Thanks. Now it's a matter of filling it up. Again, I go back to feeder pigs are like toddlers. You kind of have a hard time keeping them corralled, and they want to try everything with their mouth. They discover the world with their mouth. They want to nibble on everything. They want to taste everything. They want to smell everything. They just explore the world with their mouth. We want to encourage them to explore the world with their mouth in a feed trough or forage, one of the two, and water. Not with feed sacks and your fingers and fencing and the neighbor's garden. So we got to keep them happy, fed, and warm. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Make sure you vent the tank. This one has a little cap that'll unthread and let vent in. If your cap isn't that way, drill a hole in it. You got to have it vented in order to let that water flow out. So everybody, I hope that this little short how-to will help you with your off-grid, away from your water source solution for a waterer for your swine when they're out in the pasture, out away from a water source, or you're living off-grid. Fill up that tote, either gravity-fed, buckets with a pump, with a garden hose. Like, we are not very far from water source, but we can't have that faucet on all day long and a hose running along the ground, because it's going to be hot. For one, during the summer. For two, you know what happens if it gets a big hole in it? We get a very, very, very large water bill. This, if they knock that off, if it gets a hole in it, the most I'm going to lose is 200 gallons of water. Yes, it's a loss, but is it as big of a loss? No. Some other things. They're probably going to make a little waller in front of it. We're okay with that. The other thing is, if the waller starts getting out of control, you can move this. Move it to a different spot in the pen. Move it to the rocky spot on your pen. When you're out moving them through pasture, you're going to be moving this weekly. So they're not going to get a chance to make too big of a waller with it. So, till next time, guys, farm on, keep strong. I love you, and so does God.